I had never heard of Florence Foster Jenkins, probably like a majority of the world, and I was sent the script, and I experienced the gamut of emotions reading it. I laughed hysterically, I cried, I don't know, I found it incredibly profound in its message and really just, I mean, it's about a love for music, but a love of life, I guess, even more, and perception, and I think ultimately that our own perception of the world is what wins out, regardless how off-key we might be. So I found it to be really, really beautiful. And there's a line in a movie, Being There, that I think is kind of a similar theme in certain ways. And at the end, you hear the line, life is a state of mind. And so I don't know, that kept striking me throughout this, because that's what this is all about. You know, she succeeds despite the odds, because she just perceives the world the way she does and the way she wants to, and everyone's along for the ride. Well, I think it's just purity. Her character is, there's no cynicism, there's just, again, it's the music. She says it's all for the music. She always, I think there's a few areas where she says that, and it's about a dreamer. She's a dreamer. She's charming, obviously, and Meryl is, you know, one of the more charming people ever to exist. So that combination is pretty irresistible, and I think she has entered into the lives of these strange people, my character and Hugh's character, and all of them, and really, so I think the writer was saying something about that these are these sort of odd little flowers that only bloom because of her, and who knows what would have happened to them had she not pollinated, so in their gardens. So it's a really amazing story to see how she brings all these people together and brings out the best qualities in them, and there's just a lot of joy in it, I hope. That's what I saw. Florence Foster Jenkins is an opera singer, and she doesn't necessarily hit the right notes ever, but it doesn't seem to stand in her way at all, and she ends up, she's somewhat delusional. She thinks that she's the most sort of graceful, has the most beautiful voice maybe that ever was, but people are finding joy in her singing for different reasons than she thinks they are, and but it ends up taking her all the way to Carnegie Hall, and she sells out faster than Frank Sinatra, and yeah, I would say probably is known, if she's known by anybody, as perhaps the worst opera singer of all time, but maybe one of the most successful. So that is where the story kind of exists, is how did she do this, and she's insulated by all these people, and protected by people, because there's such joy in her music, even though it's not necessarily the typical keys. Well, she's playing in all the keys usually, but in the same song, so it's a bit odd. Yeah, my character is the complete fish out of water in every respect. He has no clue what he's entering into at all. I think he's probably fresh off the bus into New York City, and kind of stumbles into an audition, and is, I think, a very good piano player, but perhaps not concert level, but stumbles in and ends up getting hired right away. There's lots of other, you know, very capable candidates who are technically, you know, burn him, but he charms her. He plays a very sweet song, gets, you know, enters into her fold, and then finds out immediately that he's in the Twilight Zone, and he hears her sing, and he has no idea what's going on, how he's being paid a lot of money, and but there's a connection between him and her, I think, and so he's playing these lessons, and what's the harm? There he is, it's his first job, and then she decides she wants to play a concert, and now he has to go public, and it's this big kind of crossroads of, do I put my whole career at jeopardy here to play with this woman who can't sing and people tend to laugh at, or do I, get back on the bus and go home. And so but this love, again, I think it's a love of music, and my character and Florence connect. I think over their love of music, over they're dreamers. They're very pure. They're very chaste. They're very. There's just this innocence there that throughout the movie. So yeah, he's a bit out of his element, and it's fun to kind of watch him wiggle around and try to get out of the concert, and he's sweating a lot. So that comes naturally to me. Well, I mean, when I got asked to be in the movie, I couldn't imagine anything better than working with these people and telling this story. And then when I was told that we would be recording in Abbey Road in Studio 2, I almost just spontaneously combusted. I couldn't fathom that I would, again, just all at once, Meryl Streep, Abbey Road, Stephen Frears, and I don't know, I'm still kind of in a state of shock. So it was that, and then I panicked immediately and started, sweating as I usually do. And then I had to work a lot on the music. And I play piano, and I've always played piano, but I've never played Mozart or any kind of opera, or there's all these other. These pieces are not something that I've played little bits of Chopin, but I've mainly played jazz and rock music, and nothing this complicated in this realm. So I had to sort of learn that, and then on top of it, learn it with perhaps the greatest actor of our generation, or maybe any generation. So it was not just meeting Meryl or being in a scene with Meryl. It was playing Mozart in a scene with Meryl and recording it at Abbey. I recorded an album with Meryl Streep at Abbey Road, so that was not something I ever thought I'd be able to say. And we worked a lot, and she's who she is for a reason, and we worked weekends and after school and all that stuff. So to really get to a place where we could play these songs live on film as our characters, and it was a very complicated kind of juggling, to do, to not just play it, but to act it too. So yeah, it was a multifaceted thing, because then on top of acting while playing, these songs and doing it live and doing it on camera and all of these things, not to make it sound like we do the most noble work in the world, but it was very hard, and it was a noble effort, and I think we did a good job. But the sort of capper to all of that was then we had to deconstruct it and play it poorly, basically, but perfectly, terrible. So and completely in the moment, because you have to, we had to learn it well. At least I did. I had to learn them all very, very well and very cold off, just perfectly rhythmic, and make sure I could get all the notes, as many as I could, right. And then Meryl comes in, and her character doesn't have a sense of rhythm or a sense of pitch, and we're playing these songs. She's stumbling all over the place, but intentionally, and so I have to kind of follow her because I'm the accompanist, and that was a whole other kind of art form. Being an accompanist is a very different thing than being a soloist. So it was really this, it was sort of like tandem rock climbing, I guess, where you're tied to the other person, and if one falls, the other falls, and that's kind of how it felt. Her job is so insanely hard, to sing these songs in a way that is so close to being right there, but it's just off enough that it makes you cringe a little bit, and it's believable, and that's because she's also a fantastic singer on top of everything else she can do, so she's able to just miss the mark ever so slightly. It's like always missing it in kind of the same sort of roadmap. It was incredible.